That is rolling. Fantastic. Okay, how to win in a bidding war. Okay, so you guys are everybody in here is fairly new. We've written an offer or two maybe, or none at all. And so what we're gonna talk a little bit about today is what do you need to do when it comes time to write an offer for your buyer to have a chance to actually get it in the market that we have right now, where there's multiple offers and escalators and all kinds of different things going on. So we're gonna talk about some really basic stuff, some more advanced stuff, but I wanna get you kind of an overview. I have an outline of kind of the order we're gonna go on with this stuff. And there's space there for notes, if you'd like to make notes. Okay, so the first thing, before we get into actually talking about how to construct the offer, when we're up against multiple offers, and again, we're not gonna go over, oh, come on in, guys. Oh, you gotta unlock it for me, yeah. Cool, bring it in, here. Let's push this way.
Appreciate you guys.
Fantastic, yeah. Sorry about the cramped quarters today. No, you're all right, come on in. Do we have more of these? We do. There's this, okay, yeah, that right there is good. One for you. I can already tell it is gonna be warm in here. Okay, so the very first thing doesn't really have to do with constructing the offer, and again, we're not gonna go over what forms to use in general. We're not gonna talk about actually filling out forms or anything of the nature. We're gonna today just cover what do you do, how do you make an offer that's competitive in today's marketplace, okay? The very first thing that we're gonna talk about has nothing to do with constructing the offer. It has to do with preparing your buyers and presetting their expectation level, right? The most important thing in this business in general is just to be able to control the expectation levels of your buyers and sellers, of your clients in general. So in this case, how many people think that they would really enjoy or want to be in a bidding war for a house? Right? Nobody wants to be in a bidding war. You'd rather not be in a bidding war, you'd rather just be able to make your offer and get the house, right? And some people are absolutely opposed to being in a bidding war. They will tell you right away, I will not be in a bidding war. I'm not interested in being in a bidding war. Well, you're not gonna buy a house in Seattle if you're not able to be in a bidding war. Okay, some people won't maybe be so demonstrative about it, but they'll really be hesitant, and they really want to go much more than the asking price, and psychologically, they're just not wired to do this and to compete in this way. And so you need to be able to help them understand that, hey, this isn't a bidding war, even though it really is. It's not that you're lying to them or trying to deceive them, it's that you're trying to reframe the way that they perceive the situation and the way that you handle it. If you handle it differently, then you will be calm, which allows them to also be calm. If you get riled up, they'll get riled up, okay? So the way that I handle this with every single one of my clients is the same. I tell them up front, look, there's gonna be more than one offer on this property. I don't know how many, but ultimately we are not going to engage in a bidding war. We're not going to get in a bidding war. What we are gonna do is we are gonna determine on our own, aside from everybody else and what anybody else is doing, what we're comfortable doing. What's the price of the property now? At what point would we want to let that property go? At what point is it just not worth it to us anymore, and so we would just go and find another property, right? So we're really saying, hey, what's our comfort level? And we're just gonna play in our playpen. We're just gonna stay in our comfort zone, right? Now, if their comfort zone is not enough for them to achieve the house, one of two things is gonna happen. One, you're either going to help them understand and get more perspective to maybe feel like they can do a little bit more, offer a little bit more, make their bid increment a little bit more, whatever it is, or you're going to make an offer that you know they're going to lose on, and that's okay, because sometimes we have to lose in order to eventually win. Sometimes we need the experience of, wow, that didn't work. Wow, we offered $5,000 over the asking price and had an inspection contingency, and there were 10 offers, and we were offer number 9. Right? So we know that the next one of these that comes up, guess what? There's 9 other people that are going to be competing with us. We have to change our game, right? And so sometimes they have to fail. But ultimately, you will keep them calm and you will have more success in the situation. And your clients will love you more for it when you're done. When you win a bidding war and they didn't feel like they were in a bidding war, that feels good. The whole thing was much more calm, and they're going to refer you, right? And that's the whole name of this game, is referrals, right? So that's thing number one. You want to keep them calm and cool at all cost, okay? All right, second topic I wanna hit on is when and how do we wanna submit an offer? Okay, when and how? So there's a couple of different ways to do this. Let's assume, because most properties on the market right now have a review date. They go up on a Thursday and they're gonna review offers on Monday, let's say, okay? So great. When should you make your offer? You're Johnny on the spot, and you see that property come on the market, and you go take your clients to it right away, and you see it that night, Thursday night, they see it, they love it. They wanna make an offer. What do you do? Okay, there's a couple of different ways to handle this, okay? The first thing that you need to do always, don't assume that the other listing agent is educated enough in this situation to handle it properly, okay? Don't assume that the listing agent, even if they've been in the business for a long time, knows more than you. This situation can go a lot of different ways. They can wait all the way until the review date and look at offers then, which is what they said that they're gonna do. They could get an offer earlier and accept it. Acing you out completely, you might not even know that they'll accept an offer early. So the first thing you do is call the other agent. Don't text them, don't email them, call the other agent. Say, hey, I've got a client that may be interested in making an offer on the property. I see you have a review date of Monday.
One of those things.
What's the likelihood that you're gonna wait all the way till Monday? Well, we're pretty sure, but, or hey, we are gonna wait until Monday. Okay, great. Could you take my name and number in case something happens and you change your mind? I have folks that I believe will like to make an offer on this property, and I wanna make sure that it doesn't sell before we have that opportunity. Okay? That's in the client's best interest too, yeah? So they're gonna likely respect that. But it also puts them on notice that people are paying attention, okay? Lots of times, I had just 2 weeks ago, somebody did a pre-inspection on the house, a sewer scope on the house. They were gonna wait until Monday to turn their offer in. And over the weekend, somebody else made an offer and the seller just took it. They spent all that money, they never even had a chance to make an offer. They very likely would have been the best offer. The seller made a big mistake. The listing agent made a big mistake because the listing agent didn't go back and call everybody who had seen the property to see, hey, is there anybody else that would wanna get involved? Because we're gonna go early on this, okay? So, again, other agents, set that expectation. What are you doing? Are you sure? Are you gonna hold to that, okay? The second way to handle it is, when he says or she says, yeah, we're gonna wait until Monday. Well, hey, what if we came in with a really strong offer? Well above asking, no contingencies, or whatever it is, would they entertain an offer right away? You're gonna hear this when you're a listing agent. It's not a bad question to ask, because you'll get some information. Well, maybe. If they say maybe, well then, okay, now we know we gotta be paying attention. If they say no, absolutely not, right? But ultimately, let's say a property comes on the market for $500,000, and you know that your folks can only go 5.25, that's the most that they can go. And you think that this might get a lot of offers. You might employ a tactic that is really pushy, but that has worked several times. And that would be, hey, I know you're waiting until Monday. We just saw it today on Thursday. We're gonna write an offer and it expires tonight at 9 p.m. And if you don't accept the offer, no problem. But we will move on to another one and we are not going to make another offer on this property. Our offer will not be available come Monday. And it's cash and it has no inspection, or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
So you're kinda, see if they A, call your bluff if it's a bluff, or B, you're really serious and you are being pushy and trying to get them to do that. What do they have to do with an offer that you send them?
They have to
Not tell you can't, verbally doesn't matter, but if you send them a written offer, what happens?
They have to show it, don't
You
they?
have to present that to
Yeah,
your seller.
to the
You
sellers,
can't
yes.
hold that and not tell your sellers about it.
Because it has an
Expiration.
Yeah, because it was an offer on their property. By law, you have to present that to your client.
How
So it's a
about
way
that?
for you to make them do something. Now, but again, that can backfire in a lot of ways. So again, every situation is a little bit different. Talk to your managing broker about your specific situation for them to, maybe advise on that situation. Lucky for you, I am all of your managing brokers. But let me know, you got a situation like that, call me, let's talk about it. Okay, if they're gonna wait all the way until the review period, great, fine. when do you wanna send that offer in? You probably don't wanna send it in on Thursday or Friday or Saturday or Sunday. Why wouldn't you wanna send the offer in on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or Sunday if they're not gonna be looking until 1 o'clock on Monday?
Just get mixed up with all the others.
Mixed up with all the others?
They can shop it.
Shop it. That's the biggest reason, is that they can shop it. Now, when you turn an offer in, there is nothing at all that says that the listing agent cannot tell everybody else exactly what your offer is. Now,
What do you mean by shopping?
so here, example. So you send me an offer, I have a $100,000 listing. You send me an offer for 110 on Friday. I'm gonna look at offers on Monday. I get people calling in, hey, do you have any offers on that? Do you have any offers on? I sure do. Maybe I think it's in my best interest or my client's best interest. Now, I have to have my client's approval to do this. But if I have my client's approval, maybe I think it's in their best interest to tell you, yeah, hey, I got something for 110 right now. Right? And you go, great, well, now I know what I gotta do to beat it.
Okay.
And then you're gonna ask other questions, and maybe I'm an agent that talks too much, and I give too much information. So you ask me other questions, is it cash? Yeah, it is cash. Well, does it have an inspection contingency? Yeah, it's got an inspection contingency. You know, all these things help you
Right.
formulate an offer to beat me. Now, if a second offer comes in, I, as the listing agent, should call the first offer and say, hey, another offer came in, just wanted to let you know in case you wanted to adjust your bid, okay? I should do that, but again, that's because I know how to best serve my client. Doesn't mean that the listing agent on the other side has a clue how to best serve their client.
I didn't know you could do that. If I've made an offer and you're not, and the seller isn't making a counter offer, I can retract that offer and change it based on other information I get later?
Absolutely. So anytime an offer is submitted, before it is accepted in full, it can be retracted. Just needs a phone call. Oh, done, we're out. That's all it is. So again, I could go back to the other one. Now, I could go back to the other one when you send me yours and tell them what yours is. But maybe you're smarter and you don't send yours in until about an hour or two before listing, before review, and I don't really have time to do that.
But
Right?
conversely, can't you just miss out on it completely if the seller sees an offer, or that comes in early and just goes, yeah, we'll take it?
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I'm talking about
So you're
before.
running that
The
risk.
seller has the right to do whatever they want at any time they want.
Just have to communicate.
It doesn't have to be reasonable. They don't even have to communicate it. They don't have to say anything. I could get an offer from her for 110 on my $100,000 listing. I could get another offer from him of 115 and just take his, because his is more. Even though she would have gone to 120 if she had known there was another offer. She didn't even know that there was another offer on the property at all, right? So the timing of this makes a big a deal. It is a big deal. It really can determine the difference between getting something and not, especially if you're dealing with an agent that doesn't have a lot of experience on the list side or a lot of training on how to deal with this situation. Make sense? So really what you want to do is, again, set the expectation level for that other agent. Maybe you don't tell them on Thursday, we're going to submit an offer at 1 o'clock on Monday when you're going to review at 2 o'clock.
Right.
But that's really probably what you want to do, right? You want to make sure you have all your ducks in a row and you're ready to go, okay? The last thing on when to submit an offer that I will say is this. Sometimes, even in this market, there aren't multiple offers. I have a property that I listed on Thursday. We're going to look at offers today at 5 o'clock. My offers are due at 1 o'clock today. This is happening right now. This is a real story. We don't have any offers on it. It's not 1 o'clock yet, but it will be soon, and I've gotten no calls from agents. I'm not expecting to get an offer, okay? So in this case, if you had a client that was interested in that property, and you thought and assumed, like I did, that there would be multiple offers on this property, what you might do is you might have your buyer sign multiple offers. You might have 2 different options. And you might call me when the offers are due and say, hey, do you have any offers yet? Or right before. And when I say, no, I don't, then you send in option
The
B.
other one. Yeah,
Right.
okay.
But maybe if I say, yeah, I've got 5 offers, then you send in the other one, the one that has the escalator or whatever it is.
Is the listing agent obligated to tell you the truth?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, yes.
So you can't tell you no if there are some, and you can't tell you yes if there are.
Correct. They need to, they're obligated to tell you the truth. Does it happen where they don't? More times than not, no, though. The majority of the time. Think about it this way, and this is how I talk to people about escalators and people's concern over, is the other offer even real? that we're getting bumped up. Think about it this way. If you get somebody to bump up an offer $10,000, $15,000 as the listing agent, the amount of commission that you make for that is very, very little, right? But the risk, if you had fabricated something or lied or held back information or even really, really bad, had somebody else write a fake offer in order to make another offer escalate, the risk there is, I mean, this is a felony, this is fraud, this is bad news. You're definitely losing your license, you're definitely getting huge fines, all for a couple $100, right? Risk reward, it doesn't make sense. So that's not really a reasonable expectation that's happening, if at all. Okay?
So, let's say you've stated a date of review, 2:00 today, we're reviewing offers. So 2:00 today, I call you and I have clients who might wanna make an offer, but they haven't yet, and it's 2:00 today.
Yeah,
I can still make offers after that time, like the time is
That's
passed,
right.
it's now 2:10.
yeah, once I had no offers,
No, but if you have offers.
oh, if you have offers,
and you're reviewing them, and I'm calling to see if you have offers, cause I
Yeah.
have a client that may wanna make an offer, but now it's already 2:10.
right, it's 210. Well, I mean, it just depends, right? If you get a hold of the agent, they're not sitting in front of their client looking at offers, maybe they will, maybe they'll verbally ask you, well, what is it? And you say, well, it's a $100,000 house and we offered 110, and they're like, well, we got offers of over 150. Thanks, no thanks, right? They might tell you a little bit better at that point. But the reality is there's no guarantee you'll even get a hold of the agent. So you
Yeah.
definitely don't want to wait until after the time. You don't really want to wait right up until it either, because what if the agent doesn't answer their phone?
Okay.
So you got to be, you want to give yourself some buffer, right? Some lead time. But yeah, if I get a call afterwards, like with my situation, I'm asking everybody for offers by 1, but we're not looking at them until 5. I'm asking them for by 1 because that's when I know I have time to deal with them. But I can't meet my guy until 5, and I know I've got appointments in the middle, right? So get them by 1. Well, I get a call at 3 o'clock. Hey, are you still taking offers on that? Well, yeah. If you can get an offer in, yeah. Now, is that fair to you and other people? No. But is this business fair?
No.
No. No, there's nothing saying that this isn't fair. Life isn't fair, and that's okay. That's just the way that this business is, it works. So, at any rate, yes, you could get in there. Absolutely, it's possible. All right, let's talk about cash and financed. Cash versus financed, okay? And Sarah had actually the prime example of this weekend, and we'll talk about that. Everybody understands what cash is, right? They actually have cash in hand that they can close, right? It could be in savings accounts, it could be in stocks, it could be in anything that is in an account that is in the United States that the buyer can show proof of. So in order to make an offer,
They have to show that they have that amount of cash.
well, they don't have to. There's nothing by law or in the contract that says that they have to show proof of funds. So if the agent on the other side just gets all excited because it says cash and isn't educated enough to ask for proof of funding, then they could make an offer all cash, get it accepted without ever showing proof. Yeah.
Because it's technically all cash.
And after you have mutual acceptance, the seller has no grounds to ask for proof.
Right.
Okay? So if you're the listing agent and you see cash, you always want to see some kind of proof. That'd be a bank statement, blacked out their account number, right, but with their name and balance that says that they have the money, maybe multiple. It might come from multiple accounts. So you might have 3 different statements that equal the amount or whatever it is.
So can somebody do a cash offer even though it doesn't show in their account, but the cash is coming from somewhere?
Yes, if they can prove where it's coming from and the seller feels confident that it's coming from that space. Now, the reason that I say in the country is because we do have a lot of Chinese buyers, a lot of money overseas, and that sometimes can be held up. And so that is something we're not going to get into that today, but preferable that the money is here in a US account of some sort. Okay? That's cash. Great. We all love cash. Cash is king for a reason, because there's no financing, there's no appraisals generally. They don't ask for an appraisal generally when they're buying a cash. So you kind of get past some of the things that could be big hangups. Also, cash can close in just a few days. Really, you can close that fast if they want it to. Okay? Cash is great. Now, financing in the end, at the day of closing, a finance transaction really is cash, right? Because in the end of the day, you still get cash, you still get the money. So, depending on the offer and depending on a lot of variables, cash is great but much more money that's financed could be better, or much more money that's financed could be not as good. If the house is $100,000 listing, and he's gonna pay $200,000 cash, and you're making an offer for $180 that's financed, it's great. It's still, I'm sorry, the 200 cash is 180.
financed,
No,
100
yeah, exactly. 200 financed. If it's 200 that is financed, 100 cash, $20,000 is a big difference. But now we're so far above the asking price that we may have some concerns about the appraisal. Okay? And so maybe the cash offer for 20,000 less is actually the better way to go, because what if the appraisal comes in 40,000 low? Then you just lost 20 and a bunch of time, and he's already gone and he's bought something else. Okay? But again, each situation is going to be unique, and I recommend that you ask me about it, and we can talk about your specific situation to formulate the best plan for that situation. Okay? Now, one thing I want to make mention of is what happened with Sarah this weekend. She had buyers that could buy a property cash. They wanted to do financing, but the property's going to have 10 offers on it. In this market, it's going to be pretty tough to get one that's financed through, because you got 10 offers. If there's that many offers, because the 10 offers is probably going to be cash in there, it's probably going to be difficult. They had the money to buy cash, but they wanted to finance it. Buy the sucker cash and refinance it. Now, when you recommend that, you also recommend that they talk to the lender and they ask the lender about the requirements to do so. Okay? We don't want to be making financial suggestions. We want to be giving them ideas that they go and vet on their own.
Is that when you might just have them call Mark?
Yes, that's when you
Okay.
call Mark or whoever, whatever lender they're working with, and say, you ask them directly, what's the ramifications for doing this? But if it's minimal, buy it cash, refinance it.
Is there ramifications for refinancing?
Well, there can be.
There can be, yeah, I'm not gonna get into it today, but yes, there can be. Okay, so that's cash versus finance, and the idea of, hey, if you can buy cash first and finance later, it's a great way to go. Yeah, if you ultimately wanna get a loan on the property and free back up some of that money. What should be in your offer? So, in any offer, what needs to be in it? Form 21 if it's a residential house, 28 if it's a condo. Right, that's the purchase and sale agreement, that's the meat, right? Cannot make a deal on a residential unit without the purchase and sale agreement.
What is a townhome considered? Is it considered a condo or residential?
Townhomes are interesting because they could be residential, some of them are actually condos, but they look like townhouses, but they're legally condos. So different question for different day,
Okay.
but you'd have to show me the unit, is I guess what I'm saying.
Be either one.
So
It
if
could be
it's-
either.
If I'm in a circumstance where it's in question in the immediate future, just call you and give you the MLS number and ask.
You got it,
Okay.
exactly. Or call the listing agent and ask the listing agent directly, is this a condo or is this a townhouse?
Okay.
Okay. I just sold my brother a 2-story, what looks like a townhouse, but it's a condo. Good. What should be in your offer? Okay, your purchase and sale. Every single offer, you're gonna have the branch forms. So the affiliated business form, the ABAD, and the anti-fraud form. Those are gonna be in every single offer that you make, no matter what. Okay, those are company forms. You're gonna have a legal description. Generally, that's gonna be attached to the listing in the supplemental docs, right? That you're gonna initial off on. Any other items that are in the supplemental docs that are attached to the MLS listing will also be in there. There might be a 22K. There might be if it's built prior to 1978, there'll be a 22J. There's most likely gonna be a 17, Form 17. Very few instances is a Form 17 exempt.
And why are they exempt? Because that's the seller's disclosure form,
Yeah, we
isn't
won't
it?
get into all the reasons. The biggest reason they could be exempt is if it's an estate.
Okay,
So
that answers
that's
the
that's
question right
that's
there.
the biggest one.
That's the only time
So
I've found them
22J is
exempt.
lead-based paint? No, yeah.
22J is lead-based paint.
What's 22K?
22K is identification of utilities. That could be in there. Okay. For you to make your offer, if you're going to have an inspection or not, you still need to use a Form 35, the inspection contingency. Okay? On the Form 35, if you're going to ask for an inspection, then great. You can check the box at the beginning of it, and again, we're not gonna look at forms today, but saying, yes, we're gonna have an inspection.
But either way, you include it.
Either way, you're gonna include
Okay.
it. If you don't have it, if you have a pre-inspection, there's a box for that on page 2, to check that box. Pre-inspection, and then you'll also probably check the box below it that says waived inspection, okay? But if they're not gonna have a pre-inspection, and they're just waiving the inspection altogether, you want them to check the box that says waived on the bottom of page 2 of the Form 35. And the reason for that is you want proof that you talked to them about their right to have an inspection. You don't want them coming back later and saying, well, he never said I couldn't have an inspection. I thought we was gonna have an inspection. She never told me that. He never said anything. Well, no, you signed right here waiving your inspection. You knew full well that that's what you were doing, right? It protects you. So you want a 35 any which way. If you're gonna have financing, you need a 22A, which is the financing addendum, right? A 22T that deals with title could be something, but if there's multiple offers, there's enough title assurance in the 21 in the purchase and sale agreement that you could probably leave it out. When you're really up against a lot of offers, you want to make your offer as small and tight as possible with as few contingencies as possible, but still protecting your client. And when your client is not protected, you want to make sure that they fully understand the ways in which they're not protected. Make sense? And we're going to get into some things that you can do to make your offer stronger, but that leave your client with a lot more liability. Okay? So those are things that should be in there. 22D is optional clauses. That's a good one to have in no matter what. Okay? You don't have to check a whole lot, but if you check the first box, it protects you from any unknown knowledge about encroachments and things of that nature. People also generally check the utilities portion of that, where the seller can basically says, hey, it's on, sewer, and has water and electricity and things of that nature. So you can use that one, but again, if there's multiple offers, you'll probably see fewer and fewer of those in there because, again, people are trying to make these things as small and tight as possible so that the sellers feel more confident that there's not ways for the buyer to get out or for things to be adjusted later. Okay, let's talk about escalators. Whew, escalators are fun. Everybody understands the idea of an escalator. The house is $100,000. You decided to make an offer of X number, let's say $100,000, and then you are willing to go up in bid increments of $1,000, let's say, up to $120,000, let's say, right? So it says that, hey, anybody that bids between 100 and 120 will beat that person by $1,000, okay? That's what that scenario would say, okay? Sometimes a seller will say no escalators, highest and best. That means they want you to just offer what you're gonna offer, okay? Sometimes they'll say escalators are fine, or they won't say anything about it. They'll get a bunch of offers, and then they'll call back and say, hey, we want highest and best, and we'll give you till tomorrow to get it. Okay, now they've changed the game completely. That can piss people off, but it happens all the time, and sometimes it works really well. Some of the reasons that they might do that is if you've got a client that's at 100,000, again, off the 100,000 example, you got a client that's making an offer at 100,000, and they're gonna go up 10 in increments of 1,000, but she's got somebody that's willing to go to 170, right? But I can't get to 170 because her bid increments are maybe $5,000. So the best I can do is get her to what? 115. But she's willing to go to 170. So if I call and say, hey, highest and best, now her client's got a tough decision to make.
Can you do that after you've received multiple escalators?
Absolutely, you can.
That is.
It's dirty, but but you can, okay? Now, keep in mind though, every action has a response, right? If I do that, that could piss her clients off and say, forget it, we're out of here. Or it gives them time to find something else and go, hey, you know what, fine, we'll just make an offer on this one. Or maybe the difference isn't so much. Maybe it's 110 for him and 120 for her. And I go back and say highest and best, because I know I can only get her to go up to 115 because her increment is 5,000. And I go highest and best, and she comes back and she says, well, we're not comfortable going to our highest if we're not seeing that we're pushed there. So the highest that will go is 105. Well, crap. And then he did the same thing, and now all of a sudden I'm at 105 as my highest, when I had 111 or 115. I had 110 from you and a 5,000, escalator on, bid amount. So I went from 115 to 100 or 105. So again, every situation is different, and I'm happy to work through situations with you and try to come up with the right scenario for you guys in your situation. Escalators. Let's keep talking about escalators. So, if the house is listed at $100,000, a lot of people will start, and your client knows they want to go to 150 on this house, okay? They might start at 120, even though the list price is 100, right? They might just say right off the bat, hey, boom, we're gonna give you 20,000 off the top anyway. And it also might get rid of some of the little riffraff, especially if your bid increment's not so high, okay? Remember, when you're making bid increments, really truly in this market, nobody cares about $1,000. $1,000 doesn't win anything.
So the bid increment is always written on the offer?
On the escalator.
On the escalator.
On the escalator clause.
What will go up?
That's right. Yep.
So
We just don't have time to actually look at the forms today, but yes.
a seller isn't obligated to entertain all escalators. So if I provide an escalator going top limit 10,000 higher than Sarah's escalator that she provides, and I'm going up $1 increments, like just to be absurd.
Oh,
The
yeah.
seller does not have to entertain my bid. They can say, no, we don't want to deal with you.
Not only that, but your bid increment might be 10,000 more than Sarah's, and they can still go with Sarah's. Money's not everything. Money is not
But
everything.
if they're, let's say they have 3 escalators. One of them, the increments is quite small.
Yeah.
They can say, no, we're not going to even entertain that escalator. We're going to escalate with these 2.
That's essentially what happens.
Okay.
But that's not quite how it works. But basically, everything. If I have 10 offers and there's escalators on the $100,000 house, one goes to 200, one to 80, one to 170, one to 105, one to 107, one to 108. Those ones down there just getting, you have to let your client know about the offer, because you must present every offer. Doesn't mean you have to sit and go through every single page of every offer, but these are the highlighted terms. Okay? But basically, the ones on the bottom just get they just get ignored in terms of the escalator. Okay. But I lost my train of thought. So if we've got multiple offers and we're talking about, I don't know, where were we? Bid increments, right? Mm-hmm. We're talking about bid increments. I'm not sure exactly where I was at, but let's start here. $1,000 isn't enough to buy anything. Okay. If all things are exactly even, and it's $1,000 different, maybe the one that's $1,000 more. But I would lean more to looking at who the listing agent was, or the buyer's agent is. If it's agent from some small company that I don't know if they're trained or they know what in the heck they're doing, and I might have to help them or work their transaction for them, and there's somebody else from a reputable company, somebody who's been in the business for a while, or somebody I know that's $1,000 less, I'm gonna go with the person I know. It's not my choice, but I'm gonna explain to my seller, hey, look, this is this has a better chance of closing, right? To go with somebody that I think is more reputable and has more experience, right? Than with somebody that doesn't know at all what they're doing and has clients that, who knows, right? So you're gonna look for different reasons to decide which offer has more value. And we're talking about everything is the same.
Push that to your customers.
Exactly. So think about what your bid increment should be. It shouldn't be $1,000 or $2,000. Our marketplace, you want them to be strong. I wouldn't want a bid increment of less than $5,000. Again, there's a situation for everything. But in most situations, I wouldn't want it less than 5, and I really want a 10. And if you're financed and you think you're up against cash offers, I want it to be 20, right?
Can you bid up in $10,000 increments? Let's say it's a $100,000 listing, and you bid up in $10,000 increments until 130, and then switch it to $5,000 increments. So that
You could.
So you clear that little first hurdle.
You could.
But then you don't want to go
You
10
could.
grand every time. You can do 5 grand clicks up.
So another thing that I've been seeing, and this is something I was gonna speak to, is, and this might actually be a better way to do kind of what you're wanting to do, is have a bid increment of 5,000 or 10,000 or whatever it is. On the 34, on a blank addendum, right? If the competing offer is cash, because you're financed, you will go 20,000 over.
So you
In
write
bid
that-
increments of 20,000, right? So it protects you, it says, hey, if you're up against a cash offer, you know you gotta beat it by a lot. But if you're up against another financed offer, if all other, contingencies are similar, then you shouldn't have to beat it by 20,000. 10 should be great.
Right.
5 might be enough, right? So you can play with it that way, absolutely.
Can you say that again, please?
I can't,
Oh,
because I
that's
don't
okay.
remember what I just said. No, I'm kidding.
You can use a
Okay.
blank addendum
No.
and write,
Yes, exactly. So you could on your escalator clause, you can say that your bid increments are 5,000. And then from there, you could put on a 34, bid increments to be 20,000 if competing offer is cash. Okay? Now, if you're cash, you probably don't need to do that, right? So you don't need to beat another cash offer by 20,000. What you're really trying to do is level the playing field with cash. Okay? I think that's all we'll talk about with escalators. How are we doing on time? We're great. Waiving inspection and pre-inspections. Okay, so let's talk about pre-inspections first. Anybody know what a pre-inspection is?
Inspection done before.
Yeah, inspection done before. Well done.
Yeah.
So you see that a house goes on the market on Thursday, they're gonna look at offers on Monday, okay? You go see it on Thursday with your client loves it. Say, look, there's gonna be a lot of attention on this house, okay? One thing that you might want to do is have a pre-inspection on the property, unless you plan to waive the inspection. Now, I will tell you right now, before we go any further, I would never recommend to a buyer not to have an inspection on a property. I will never say you should not have an inspection. Even on new construction, you should have an inspection. You should. Now, that does not mean that I don't ever advise people that their best opportunity to purchase the house might include that they waive the inspection, right? We're gonna talk about the situation and what that looks like. But I'm not going to, yeah,
But can you waive it and bring it back later?
no.
Never.
No.
Okay.
In fact, if you don't have an inspection, if you waive your inspection contingency, you cannot bring an inspector on to that property after you get mutual acceptance just for informational purposes.
Can you do a subject to?
Unless the
after
seller
they-
allows you to, which they won't, yes.
Can you do a subject to after they agree? Subject to checking this out, or line item?
Separate things, separate items, yes, you could, but that would kind of defeat the purpose of waiving the inspection, but you could. You could.
You can just slide little things.
You could.
Subject to checking out the furnace.
If you're going to do that, again, come and see me, because it needs to be written properly, so that if you do that and you disapprove the item that you said that it was contingent on, you make sure that your buyer retains their earnest money, and you have to write that a certain way. Again, we're not getting into the forms.
Okay.
So the pre-inspection, so your client now may wanna do a pre-inspection, which will cost them money up front on a house that they might be one of 10 or 15 or 3 offers on, we don't know, right? Allowing them a better chance to achieve the house, but there's no guarantee. So they may spend hundreds of dollars to inspect a house and a lot of time that they may not have the opportunity to actually get, right?
Mm-hmm.
They may do this over and over and over again. Some inspectors, I have an inspector that does a pre-inspection, it's much cheaper than a full price inspection. I think he charges $275 instead of $475. It's much quicker. It's just looking at the meat, right? Electrical, plumbing, crawl space, roof, right? Just kind of the core of the house, okay? That's maybe something that that's for sure something that a lot of people will utilize, okay? So they need to understand what they're doing, right? But also, if you do the pre-inspection, it allows you the opportunity to waive the inspection and know everything that's on the house. What you're probably not going to do is do a pre-inspection and then on your offer, ask for a laundry list of things, right? You want to set the expectation for your client that, hey, by doing this, it allows us to remove the inspection contingency. It's not something where we're going to come in and then ask for a bunch of things to be done, because other people are going to waive their inspection or do pre-inspections and they're going to waive it all. It's just for informational purposes. If you do the inspection, the pre-inspection, you don't like it, then you move away. If there's no offers on the property, when it comes time and you've done a pre-inspection, now you can ask for things, right? Because there's no other competition. I'll go here first.
How quickly do you find you can get pre-inspections done? I mean, this is very time sensitive, so
Yeah, it
I
just
see the house today with my clients, they're interested, they want a pre-inspection
can be difficult. It can be difficult.
tomorrow, the next day.
Yeah, sometimes, well, just depends when they're open.
We went
Every
on our
inspector's gonna be
tour,
different at
and
every
it was
time.
with
So,
you.
it's not a bad idea to have a couple of inspectors' names and numbers, right? Yes.
I was just, going on that same note, how readily available does the listing agent and the seller have to make the house available for pre-inspection?
They don't have to at all. They don't have to at all. You need A, they need to be offering to do it, and B, attached to the listing in the supplemental documents, there'll be a 35P for pre-inspection. They need to allow the pre-inspection in writing, and your client needs to sign off on it, saying that they agree to the terms of the pre-inspection, which is basically that they're liable for any damage that they do to the house.
So sometimes on listings, it'll say pre-inspection available, sewer scope available. Is that things that the seller has done ahead of time? And
Yes.
should you trust those?
Ish.
Yeah, maybe. I would not recommend to a client that they necessarily trust those. It's a piece of information. Sometimes those will be available. Sometimes, some companies, what they'll do is they will inspect a property for a seller at no cost to the seller. The seller does not get the inspection. They don't see it, they don't know anything. They make it available to other people that want it at a reduced
And
price.
Who does that?
The seller does.
Makes it available to the buyer.
Yeah, so what the seller does is, I'm the seller, I pay you to do an inspection. You don't give me a copy because I don't want to see what's on there. Because I don't want to have to disclose things that I don't know about the property currently.
Right.
She brings a buyer. I say, hey, there's one available, go to this website. Her buyer can pay a reduced fee.
What's that average in like?
Done. Who knows, it's different for every company. But they, $150, $200, $300
Okay.
to look at this inspection. Right? So they don't have to go through the time and everything else to do it. They just spend the money and they get the inspection. Does it have value? Sure, maybe. Do you know how they chose the inspector? Is it her brother that inspected the property and has inspections? We don't know, right? So there is some liability in that, for sure. But those are some of the things that you see. Do you want to do an inspection? All these things. Do you want to just waive your inspection contingency? I don't recommend it. This is what I tell clients. I don't recommend it. In this case, likely, there's going to be people that will remove their inspection contingency. It is an option that you can do if you would like to make your offer as strong as possible. Maybe they're looking at offers tonight and your client hasn't seen it until 2 o'clock. And they gotta have an offer in by 5. You're not getting a pre-inspection.
Provided you say, I don't recommend it, however,
Absolutely.
to make your offer stronger,
Yeah, absolutely.
to compete with the other offers that are
Sure.
going to be there.
You ever done something in your life that wasn't recommended? Okay. So it's your client's it's your client's choice to do something that you do or don't recommend. You're only there to facilitate what they want to do. Remember that, right? You're there to give them advice and things of that nature. But remember to keep your advice that's personal choices. Yeah, you want to disclose those as personal preference. But don't put how you do business on them necessarily, yes.
Nope. I think yes.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, doesn't it expedite the process? I mean, gives your buyer a better chance of getting the home
To do what?
if you get the pre-inspection done.
Yes, absolutely. So if you do the pre-inspection, it allows, if you do a pre-inspection, it does not allow your buyer a better chance to get the house over somebody else who also waives the inspection,
Right.
right? But it does put you in a better position to get the house over anybody that does not waive the inspection and that has an inspection contingency. It may put you a peg above the people that didn't do an inspection, just waived it, because the seller knows you know everything about the house and you're still waiving it. So it could be a little bit better, could be. If all things are really, really similar, it could peg you up just a little bit to actually have had it. But, again, it just depends on the situation. Does that make sense? Okay. Really, 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 really hard to get a deal in the market today when there's multiple offers. Can somebody just hold a candle there for her? Really hard to win a multiple offer situation in today's market if some of the offers have waived an inspection and you have not. That's really, really hard to overcome. Why is it so hard to overcome? Even if you're $20,000 more, and this is a newer house, there's no way there's gonna be $20,000 worth of damage.
If they find something wrong, then they can walk and then they missed out on all those other offers, so.
Yeah, they don't even have to find something wrong. Remember, in today's inspection contingency, it wasn't when I started like this, but in today's inspection contingency, they can just change their mind. Maybe they wait their week or 3 days or whatever, they make the inspection period, and they find something else that they like, they make an offer on that, they get that, not ethical to have an offer in mutual acceptance and make offers on other properties. I don't recommend that, it's not ethical. But it happens, and now they get under contract on that one and they just go to that one. And now the first seller has to go back on the market and they don't have the same fervor and interest and intrigue that they did when it first came on the market, right? Now all that initial push is gone and they lose. Potentially they lose a lot. Perfect example of that, Maura in our other office, in our Berrien office, has her own personal house for sale. She listed it, let's say, I don't know the price exactly, but it's 6.5. She got a bid up to 7.25. 3 offers went up to like 7.15 to 7.25. She took one, it fell apart. She went back on the market. Now she can't even get 6.50. Okay, or whatever the number is. Those aren't the real numbers.
It was
But
six,
you-
it was 635 to 685, and then she relisted it for 675, and
And
now
has
she
had to
she just
continue to
dropped
reduce
it
the
to
price.
650.
She has
she'll
an
have to keep-
appraisal for 686.5 though.
And she'll have to continue to reduce the price because we lost the initial push and all the interest, right? Remember, a lot of what happens in this business for listings is what happens in that first few days or first week, right? When something new comes on the market, everybody's excited, and can I get it? Do they want it? Who wants it? Who wants it? Who wants it? Right? The new Xbox comes out for sale. I haven't played video games on an Xbox in 20 years, but I see it on the TV, and everybody wants it, and I kind of think, well,
I'd like to play that.
should I want that too? Even though I don't have 1 minute in my day to do that, I still want it. Now we talk about actually entering an item that I actually want, because I want a house, I'm in the market to buy a house. You get the idea, right? What that initial reaction is to these houses and how it can really change if that first initial deal doesn't come together, and how it can really financially impact the seller. So anyway, a little bit on a tangent there. So inspections and waiving inspections. Again, if you're gonna have them waive it, or if they're willing to waive it, that, if they think that that's the best way for them to get the house, then make sure that you use a 35 and they check the waive box and it's included in the purchase and sale, so that you can show that you talked to them about it, that they waived it.
I have a quick question.
Yep.
So offer comes in, there's a contingency, and an offer that ends up getting accepted, that you're competing against. There's a lot of other offers that were submitted, but then that falls apart because of the buyer, so no contingency, not happy. So ideally, all of those other offers have expired by the time that contingency.
Oh yeah, they've definitely expired by then. Now, would you maybe get on the horn and start calling them? Yeah, sure. Trying to see, hey, is anybody else still interested? Would you maybe go back on the market and call and say, hey, 24 hours, next one's quick, to try to recapture some of that, whatever. But a lot of times, they're already gone and past and over. They're over it, or they've rethought it. Remember, so many in this market, so many of these house purchases are really emotional in the moment. Okay? They are, because of what's going on. Okay. What does it mean to waive financing? So if you're not cash and you have to get financing for your offer, some people are waiving their financing contingency. What does that mean? Well, what it means is that if they go through the process and they are not able to achieve financing and have to walk away, the seller will retain their earnest money. You had $10,000, $20,000 earnest money, and your financing falls through, it's done. Maybe you set to close in 30 days. That's your closing is 30 days out. And your financing should be fine, and the lender says you're gonna be fine, no problems. And you get closer and closer and closer, and eventually and you've waived financing, even though you're having financing done. And you've waived it, and you get to the day before closing, and the lender says, hey, look, we're really, really close, but we can't close by the closing date, we're gonna need another day or two. Guess what? If the seller does not want to continue to keep that deal together because they have other offers, or they just want your money and then they'll go to somebody else, to add that on top if they think that they can re-achieve that dollar amount for whatever reason, you don't close on time, you're done. Every lender fails to close on time, sometimes. Okay? Some of them fail to do it a lot. Okay? Big box banks, probably not who you want to use for loans in this marketplace.
It's twice today, we've heard that.
Yeah.
So that being said, waiving your financing contingency is very risky. But again, just because you don't feel comfortable with it doesn't mean that your buyer is not prepared emotionally, financially to do that, to waive their financing, to make their offer better and stronger and have a better chance to achieve that house.
Can the buyer back out if they're waiving a finance contingency? Say they're
Well-
just like, now we're,
Well, if you have checked the box that says forfeiture of earnest money
Yes.
on the first page of the purchase and sale,
yes.
then if you can't get financing, or you just walk away because you change your mind, you're just walking away from the
That's.
earnest money.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Now, could they take you
What
to
I'm
court?
asking.
Could they take you to court for other damages? Yes. Will they win? Probably not. Can you say for certain? No. You're not a lawyer. So,
No. Yeah.
so we're not advising people one way or another when it comes to that.
Okay.
But that's the realistic progression of the situation. Now, if you selected seller's election of remedies, then you're opening yourself up to a lawsuit, and it's gonna cost you a heck of a lot more than your earnest money. Because they're gonna prove all kinds of damages over and above.
Is there a
Yeah.
form stating that the customer has waived their financial contingency, or is that just the same as the form for the seller?
Yeah, I don't know the number offhand, but there's forms for everything that we're gonna go over.
Okay.
So, yeah, I'll send them out in an email. Okay,
Excuse me.
so you can waive your financing contingency, that's what that means, okay? Now, if you waive your financing contingency, but you're getting financing, you could waive the financing portion, but not the appraisal portion. Okay? You could say, look, we'll waive our financing, but if it dies on appraisal, because, the house appraises for 100,000, but we offered, we came together at 150,000, we can walk away and retain our earnest money, okay?
On that appraisal, does it have to match the exact, or is there a range? Like if it's within $2,000, it's
No.
okay, but if
It's
it's
gotta be
500
exact.
If it's $500 short, you can walk.
Depending on how you structured the offer, yes,
Okay.
yes, yeah. The
Because
appraisal.
a lender
Now,
requires the appraisal.
Except the seller could agree to lower the price 500.
Right, but so
Right.
if the seller doesn't agree to lower the price
Again,
to
if
what
the-
you've accepted.
If the purchase price and the appraisal price do not match, where the appraisal is lower than the purchase price, the bank will not lend on that. And so the buyer will retain their earnest money, because it was no fault of the buyer's, okay? Unless you've waived your financing, and in that waived your appraisal. Now, if you're getting an appraisal when you're doing financing, and again, we'll talk about how to write this later, but if you need to have an appraisal, you need to have it in the contract if you're gonna waive financing, but you have to get financing, you need it in the contract that says that the seller will allow you to have an appraisal on the property. Even if you're gonna waive the appraisal, but you're getting financing, it needs to be in the contract for the seller to agree to allow the appraisal to happen. Because you can't get the loan without the appraisal happening, right? Okay. We have a new form, relatively new, it's a 22AD. And it is a form that allows a buyer to contribute, to say up front how much they will contribute to a low appraisal, okay? So,
You said buyers?
allows the buyer to say how much they'll contribute to a low appraisal. This is something we're seeing a lot of, because it makes the sellers feel a lot better about taking the house that's much more. So, example, I list a property for $100,000, because I feel that's the market value of the house. It gets multiple offers, to $130,000. Wow. Maybe it appraises, maybe it doesn't. Okay? We preset our expectations with our sellers. Anytime we get something that's way above the asking price. Anytime we take something that has an appraisal contingency and say, look, this may not be the dollar amount that you get in the end. You need to understand that. We just got $150,000 for it. But if the appraisal comes in low, and we don't have other things that that speak to that difference, we may have to come down in order to actually make it close, okay? If we do a 22 AD, and let's say we put in there $50,000, okay? He made a bid of $150,000 on a $100,000 listing, and he did $50,000 on the AD, saying, hey, if it comes in at 100,000, we'll bring 50,000 to the table. If it comes in at 120, he'll bring 30,000, because that's less than the 50 that he said he'd bring up to, right? Make sense? Okay. One thing that people do forget in all of this is that if he bids 150 and gives 50,000 towards a low appraisal, and I have it listed for 100, there's still no guarantee that it's going to price for 100, right? Probably it will, but there's no guarantee. So just because he's bringing 50 doesn't mean it will necessarily cover the entire amount that the appraisal could be low. Okay, we need to understand that. Okay, he could offer 150 high and offer to bring 20,000 to a low appraisal, which leaves a gap of 30,000. So if it appraises for 150 or 140 or 130, we're good, it's covered. 120, now we have a $10,000 gap. Okay, now we don't have a deal at the moment. Buyer can walk away. Seller can agree to contribute. Buyer can agree to contribute. There's different things that can happen to keep it together. But right now we do not have a legally binding contract. It's not forced to stay together because you offered 20,000 and it came in 30,000 low. Okay? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
If your buyer can afford it and you're dealing with financing, this is the best way to go about mitigating some of the concerns from the seller on the price, okay? No matter what the situation is, it's good if you can utilize that 22 AD in the situation.
So in that situation, let's say someone to prove to 400,000, okay, and the house goes to 450. Are you better off trying to keep them under that so that they can handle the accelerator?
The escalation?
The escalation, or if you show them at $400,000 houses, even though they're only approved at 400,000, they still only have their 20% down. They don't have the ability to go over to 450.
Well, again, it just depends on the situation, right? You really don't know. So you probably want to show them a range, right? And assume that, hey, we'll probably have to find something much less than our actual
Given them
achievable price, right? I'm approved for 300, but I can go up to 400, or I'm approved for 400, but most of the houses are getting multiple offers, so maybe I need to be looking at things that are listed at 330, 340, 350.
Okay.
But again, like with my situation, no offers today.
Right.
So if that was at the top of your range, but you didn't take them there, then they wouldn't even know it existed.
Okay.
So you're gonna show them everything. You're gonna show them everything. Again, there's limited inventory, there's no reason not to. So that is funds for a low appraisal. Last topic that we are gonna talk about today is waiving line W on the purchase and sale agreement. Line W. A lot of people in their offers, in fact, most everyone these days, is crossing that out. It's a verification period. It's a way for the buyer to just back out for no real reason. Okay? Sellers want to see that crossed off because they don't want you to have an easy way to just turn around and blow up the contract and walk away. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So again, I'll let you read it, but that portion is coming out of just about every transaction that we have these days. If there's multiple offers. If there's not multiple offers, you're gonna leave it in, right?
What's a typical length of time if it's left in?
Was it 10 days?
It's 10 days if nothing's marked.
For verification of, so basically you get 10 days to try to pick it apart. I've seen one last week. I saw a deal that used that clause to get out of it. There were not multiple offers, so the W was left in the contract. And the The listing said that the property had 2,200 square feet.
Oh, this is what Nalani was talking about this.
Okay, this is different than Nalani's situation, because I don't know about Nalani's, but good, but perfect. So it said it had 2,200 square feet in the listing. And the buyer came back, because the buyer wanted out of the contract and there was no inspection contingency. The buyer came back, was able to find that actually, as per the tax records, it was 2,010 square feet. So it was actually better for the buyer by 10 square feet, but it was inaccurate information and they used that to get out, okay? Now, if it all goes to mediation and everything, you know, I'm not saying who's gonna win or anything else in that situation, but that's what that clause allows. Now, if it had been less, again, they could have also used that clause to get out. But any information that's incorrect,
Anything different?
and I will tell you right now that there are a lot of listings out there with incorrect information, okay? Not intentionally, but there's just mistakes that get made. And a lot of agents, again, not trained, not educated in how to do this properly, do not have their sellers review things, and so they take things from different places, and who knows if they're getting totally accurate information. Yes,
Can we touch on earnest money as a strategy?
thank you, yes, earnest money, not on my list, that should be right on there.
Feels like it should be on there.
Thank you, yeah, it should be. Earnest money, so, okay, there's a couple things with earnest money. First of all, earnest money is almost always money that will come back to the buyer. It is really hard for sellers to retain earnest money, okay? In Washington State, it's kind of a buyer would beware state. So if you lie on your Form 17 and the buyer finds out about it after the fact, you're probably not gonna win a lawsuit or a mediation over it, being the buyer. It's the buyer's due diligence to find things that are wrong. In a contract, there's all kinds of things that can let somebody out. Form 17 isn't filled out all the way. The seller missed one line of boxes. They didn't check one box in one line. Well, they were not given a proper Form 17. They're out, they get their earnest money. Generally speaking, the earnest money stays with the buyer, but they could lose it. So, earnest money, the perception of earnest money has more value than actually what earnest money is. Does that make sense? The seller seeing a larger earnest money has more perceived value than actual value. Okay? All right. That being said, the larger the earnest money, the better that it probably looks to the seller. So you get to decide with your client what's a reasonable. Now, back when I started, it was 2 to 3% of the purchase price of the property was a reasonable earnest money, 2 to 3%. Then for a long time, it was like 1%.
Yeah.
Because the market was down and, sellers were just taking anything. So buyers could throw them $500. I saw $500 earnest money once on a $500,000 house. What good did that do? But they got the house because there weren't any other buyers. Okay. Now it's a little different. So I wouldn't go getting into crazy earnest money amounts, but you could. I mean, I've seen $50,000, $100,000, $200,000 earnest money, depending on the property. I have also seen, and I will not get too far into this today, but we've seen a lot of people that will waive their earnest money right away. They'll release it to the seller immediately. $20,000, release the seller upon receipt or upon mutual acceptance. Okay, every situation is different, but there's some huge liability in doing that. Okay, huge. Obviously, if we back out, it's gone because it's already gone, right? But if you release earnest money in a transaction that has clauses for your buyer to retain their earnest money, but you've released it and the deal falls apart, guess who's probably going to be paying for their earnest money? You. In the end, probably you, unless you get that client to just think that they're not owed it, because they are. So, example, you release $10,000 earnest money on receipt, but you have an inspection contingency. You go through the inspection contingency, buyer says, you know what, we don't want it. You say, okay, great, you're walking away from your 10 grand. But wait a second, we have a clause in here that says that we can walk away and retain our earnest money because we have an inspection contingency.
But you've already.
Well, yeah, but you already released it. Yeah, but the clause says we get it back. Good luck getting it back from the seller. Never gonna happen in a million years. Guess who's paying that?
So is it
You would.
that the release of the earnest money, kind of like government taxes, takes precedence over things that come after? So, I mean,
I'm not sure I understand.
so let's say that you have a house that, and you have contractors that are working on it, some of the things that they talked about in our class. A contractor that isn't getting paid, a subcontractor that isn't paid by the contractor can put a lien on the property.
Yes.
But the state, if they have a tax lien or something on the property, they get paid before the subcontractor. Does the earnest money?
The earnest money wouldn't have anything to do with any of that.
I'm just saying, but it kind of trumps it. I mean, because you've
Oh.
given it up first, that
Sure.
trumps things that happen after.
So that could be, okay, so yes, so let's say, okay, no, I think this is maybe where you're going. So we got a listing, we release the earnest money, okay? The seller had some work done on the property. Somebody came and put a roof on,
Right.
new roof, and they didn't pay it.
Mhm.
You didn't know that. You release your earnest money. Seller, or a contractor puts a lien on the property,
Right.
right? That lien on the property is gonna keep you from being able to get a loan on the property, or transfer title clean, right? So you're not gonna get a title transfer. And so you could just have released earnest money on a property that you can't even buy because of the lien on the property. Is that kind of? Good. What else? Any other questions?
We don't have to discuss it right now, but can we either get an email or something that has a list of all suggested documents, transaction desk? Should it be emailed, wet sign versus e-sign? Just sort of like things that we need to be equipped with.
Yeah, let me make sure I understand. So, wet sign versus e-sign, so that wouldn't matter.
So if someone says they wanna put a bid in, and we
Yeah.
put an offer in,
Mhm.
and we're now in this part of our education where we're talking about different forms and how to construct an offer.
Yes.
But the actual sheer mechanics of it, is it like, do we pop onto transaction desk? Do we email these things? Do we pre-populate?
Okay, let's talk about that. So, it depends on your situation, right? So we do have hard forms here. I don't recommend that you use hard forms anymore, but we have them. We probably won't even have them for long. They're probably gonna go away. Now, you can print hard forms right off the MLS, so you can still get the hard forms if you wanna hand write in a contract. You can do that. I would do things through transaction desk, and I would do things digitally. Even if I'm with my client going over the contract, you can go over it with them as they click and sign. But then it's nice and clean and crisp, and it's all in one place, and you can refer back to it at any time. You can also make changes very easily, or you can recreate the same offer on another property fairly easily. So I would be doing all of my offers through transaction desk.
Does it ever give you any highlights of things that you're missing that?
No, 'cause it
transaction
doesn't,
might-
no.
No, it doesn't.
No, because it's not gonna tell you how to write your offer.
Right.
Can we
Yeah.
use transaction desk to do a mock offer? So I can go in and teach myself and fumble
absolutely.
around and make a mock offer on my house, cause I'd
Yeah.
like to do that.
Not only
now.
that, but so my goal actually was to this week have us pair off and do that. You make an offer to him, she makes an offer to you, things like that. And so, problem is I'm gonna be out of town this week. So, but that is something that we can make a decision right now to do, and you guys can pair up and say, hey, who's available on what days, and do that. Absolutely, you can go through actually making the offer. No question. We also ultimately want you guys doing listings on your own house. I want you to do a CMA on your own property, even if it's a simple one, doesn't matter. Yeah? Good. Any other questions on this? Good for today? Okay. Let's turn that off.
It made me not